Okay, y'all, let's talk about this whole First Lady dress controversy. Very popular Pastor James Bryant and his wife, Karri Bryant. I'm going to talk about why I'm not tripping about it and why I am tripping. Well, not quite tripping, but, I'm stumbling a little bit and I need some clarity. So let's first get into why I'm not tripping. That ain't my wife. I can't govern the way they do things if they are happy with it. Far as what I saw, the pastor came out himself and said that he had no problem with it. He liked the way his wife looked in it and he bought it. So they were in agreement. The second reason I'm not tripping is, they was out there together. They was out there holding hands. She was not out there in the streets moving all willy-nilly without her protector, without her supporter, without her partner, without her leader. She was out there moving with her man, with her husband. So, nothing's going to happen when he's right there by her side. You know what I'm saying? It's not like she was out there moving willy-nilly like Keke Palmer was. When Keke Palmer out there had her cheeks out and she actually had her man at home while she was flirting with another man in broad daylight in front of everybody, in front of millions of cameras. This woman was in front of many cameras with her man in a dress that he purchased. So, I ain't tripping about that. It is what it is. The third reason I'm not tripping is because when I actually looked at the dress, it's double layered. It's actually not showing any of her skin on any of those parts. The first layer is see-through and the second layer is like this brown sheer thing that covers her entire body. So it's not her actual cheeks out like Keke Palmer's was. Like her whole body is covered except for maybe the top of her cleavage and up. The rest is covered. You can't see her true skin. The fourth reason I'm not tripping is because, yes, she's the first lady, but this was not at a church event, nor was this at church. She wasn't dressing inappropriately in front of kids. If she was wearing this dress on the altar at church, yes, I would have a problem with it. But this was not the case. This is a totally different environment. She's not in that professional atmosphere. And also she's amongst only adults. Now let's talk about why I do understand some of the backlash and do seek a little understanding and clarity of the whole situation. Yes, you're the first lady, and yes, you were not in a professional setting, but the dress itself, the design looked like it has a bullseye on your vagina hole. It's like, look directly at my cat. It's like everything is pointing towards the middle of her vagina. So that design is kind of like, what are you trying to do with that? And then I heard her on a Tamron Hall show saying, yes, her position is a first lady, but she just so happened to fall in love with a pastor. Also that the position doesn't define her. She defines her position. And she got a lot of applause for this.
And I have decided that the title does not define me. I define what the title is.
But how far are we trying to take this mindset? Are we trying to say there should be no guidelines, no standards, no ethics for any type of position? You define your own position, no matter what the position is? I feel like that's me trying to say, I apply for a CEO position. I get that CEO position, but I carry myself like a front end person and still expect the same pay as a CEO and still expect the same respect as a CEO, even though I'm acting just like all the frontline people and only doing their type of work. That can be very dangerous. We're getting to a point where it may be just a free for all if we keep pushing these mindsets of having no structure. You define everything. And then what? It's like, so a police officer should define his position that he's in, not go by the standards of the law. I mean, in that case, we're going to see far more, crime than we've seen. We're going to see far more dirty cops out there. We don't want dirty cops. We don't want dirty first ladies. We don't want dirty preachers. We don't want dirty co-workers. So structure is important. That's how I feel about the situation. If that is what we're trying to convince the world to be like, whatever position you're in, you don't have to follow the guidelines of that position. You create the guidelines for the position you're in once you're in it. That can be dangerous and counterproductive in my eyes. And I seek some clarity from her from that. That sounds like a great little punchline she said. But when you think about it in depth, on how things can be taken in the future, that can be very dangerous. That's why we got a lot of things in the church that we see today that, I never expected to see. I never expected to see outright gay preachers preaching being gay to other people, and seeing two men kissing in front of the altar, and two women doing that. I never expected to see basically OnlyFans models being first ladies, different situations, not like this woman. I'm not saying she is, because she's not, but there's situations out there like that where pastors are dressing like rappers, they're talking like rappers, they're flaunting money like rappers, they're getting robbed like rappers. So without these guidelines, when they're, like she said, defining their own position, not going by the guidelines that they had historically, now we're seeing all these things get into the church and get into the mindsets of others. And I can only see that snowballing more and more to impact, our society as a whole. Where that really going to put us, you be the judge. But I sense a lot of chaos, and I sense a lot of non-structure. And I feel like structure is what separates humanity from the normal animals out there. And so I can see both sides of it, while, some people not tripping and some people are tripping. We just need a little bit of clarity there. But I'm interested in seeing where you guys land. What are your thoughts on the whole thing? I ain't tripping, because that's his wife. They do what they want in their own relationship. They both happy. They both agreed. She wasn't out there by herself moving funny without him. The dress wasn't actually revealing true skin. It just had like an illusion of it. They wasn't at a church event, so you can kind of wear what you want. When you were in a large position, you can kind of, when you're not at church, you can kind of dress as you want. But, also, is that true in every situation? When you're in certain positions, do people expect you to carry yourself in different ways when you're not on the clock still? Because I've seen CEOs get in trouble for being drunk, and when they were off the clock, and they still got fired. So that can still be a true thing too. Like, okay, even though you're off the clock, the standards are more loose, but there are still some standards. Are we saying that that shouldn't be the case? Because, okay, when I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock. I can do whatever, no matter what position I'm in. Is that what we're saying? I just want to understand, like, do you guys think that's true? Do you think that's fair? When I'm not on the clock, when I'm not getting paid for whatever position I'm in, I shouldn't be held to no higher standard. If I'm a cop and I'm off, I can do whatever I want. If I'm a preacher, when I'm off the clock, I can do whatever I want. If I'm a teacher, the same thing. Everything. What are you guys' thoughts on that whole thing? Let's talk about it.
The Highest Point Podcast. More than a pod, it's a lifestyle.